Welcome to the Shorten Anime channel. Today we'll dive into the latest episode of The Great Ruler. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to support the channel. The Great Ruler, Season 1, Episode 44. Liu Zong, Zhou Ye, and Lei Shan looked at the figure that appeared beside Yang Gui. Both their expressions immediately became serious. It seems that the affair today wouldn't be settled that easily. So the one backing up Mangyan Mountain really is you, the Liu territory. Zhou Ye's face became dark as killing intent surged within his eyes. Then was it also the Liu territory's instruction which caused the sudden attack on our Mu territory? Oh ho ho. We noticed that the Mu territory acted too proud recently and wanted to suppress it a bit. However, who would have thought that brother Yang Gui would attack that severely and kill people? Liu Zong smiled faintly as he spoke. Zhou Ye's eyes darkened and a crunching sound came out from his clenched fists. Since you've all come today, I think that there's no need for you to leave here. Zhou Ye, you're considered the right-hand man of Mu Feng. If you were to be killed at this location, the Mu territory would suffer greatly from it. Liu Zong pretended that he did not see Zhou Ye's dark expression and waved his hands. Then a sound of wind breaking could be heard from within the fortress. Afterwards, a group of men appeared on the fortress walls. The one leading them was the third master of the Liu territory, Liu Ming. It seemed that Liu Zong had brought many elite troops over to Mangyan Mountain this time and had waited for the appearance of the Mu territory. Leader Lei, prepare to attack, Zhou Ye said in a low tone. Although the situation was out of his expectations, it was clear that there was no way of retreating. They could only fight to the bitter end against Mangyan Mountain and the Liu territory. And regarding this point, Lei Shan also understood this. The Liu territory had already made it clear that they were cooperating with Mangyan Mountain. If they failed to get rid of Mangyan Mountain today, then Nine Dragon City would be eliminated by them in the future. Attack! A chill flashed through Lei Shan's eyes. He immediately waved his hand and cried out with killing intent. Leave Liu Zong to me. A powerful spiritual energy erupted out from Zhou Ye's body. His eyes remained fixed on Liu Zong. The latter was a spirit stage middle phase powerhouse and was extremely powerful. Even Zhou Ye could only barely stall for time against him. Lei Shan nodded. Both sides had two spirit stage powerhouses. However, it seems that the opponent had a slight advantage over them. It seems that it would probably be a bloody battle today. Liu Zong, get the fuck over here! Zhou Ye took a step forward and powerful spiritual energy began to gather behind him. It vaguely turned into a light brown rhino and a heavy feeling was emitting out. At the same time, the ground he was standing on collapsed. Zhou Ye, do you really believe that you're my opponent? Liu Zong let out a sneer. A dense spiritual energy also gathered behind him and formed into a jaded green scorpion. The scorpion's jaded green tail was flashing as a bloody smell emitted out from it. However, Zhou Ye did not care about it, and his body rushed out like lightning. The giant rhino behind him also became lively and caused the entire ground to tremble. This terrifying power was quite amazing. Swish! Liu Zong let out a cold humph before his body rushed out. He waved his hand, and the tail of the jaded green scorpion behind him fiercely stabbed towards Zhou Ye. The two types of dense spiritual energy collided with each other. This shock wave immediately brought out a gale and caused the nearby forest to tremble. Kill! Seeing that Zhou Ye took action, Lei Shan also let out a shout. Spiritual energy gathered behind his back and formed into a golden armored beast. The armored beast was like a giant mouse, and its entire body was covered with golden scales. It seemed like a layer of armor, dazzling and strong. When Mu Chen saw the golden armored beast, he immediately recognized it. Golden Armadillo, ranked 168th on the Myriad Beast Records Earth rankings. It was said that it possesses the strength to pierce through a mountain. Haha, Lei Shan, we haven't fought in so many years. Let me see how much you've improved. Seeing this, Yang Gui let out a big laugh. Dense spiritual energy surged out and formed in a giant dog with a crescent moon imprint behind him. Silver Moon Canine, ranked 177th on the Myriad Beast Records Earth rankings. It had an extremely powerful sense of smell, and no movement could escape its sense of smell within a radius of 100 miles. Lei Shan and Yang Gui also dashed out. The two of them also collided against each other heavily. Their fight was actually extremely violent and emitted out waves of spiritual energy shockwaves as it shaved off layers from the ground. Kill! Since the leaders on both sides had already attacked, there was no need for the troops to have any inhibitions. The troops screamed out loud with red eyes and charged towards the fortress like a flood. Boom, boom, boom. A violent spiritual energy exploded out endlessly from above the peak. If you were to look above, it was extremely colorful and dazzling. However, beneath the dazzling sight raged a truly bloody battle. Mu Chen also rushed into the crowd. His movements were like a ghost, and a golden light would flash between his two fingers. They were like a sharp golden spear, which would cause blood to splash out every time it broke the winds. Sounds of screams accompanied it. It was evident that Mu Chen, who had activated the Shadow Spirit Step and Spirit King Finger, possessed an extreme killing ability. Bastard, you're seeking death. However, just when nobody could stop Mu Chen's rampage, a violent cry rang out beside his ears. Then a powerful fist of wind swept over towards Mu Chen. The trembles even caused the earth to crack up. Liu Ming? Mu Chen looked up at the figure rushing over here and let out a sneer. During the Northern Spiritual Field training, it was hard for him to resist against Liu Ming. However, that wasn't the case right now. Against Liu Ming's fierce offensive, Mu Chen did not dodge, and instead changed his fingers to a fist. Two limitless death seals emerged on the surface of his fist as he punched out. An overbearing wind erupted out from his fist. Boom! The two fists collided with each other and caused waves of air to emit out. A dozen or so individuals nearby were directly blasted back forcibly and spat out blood. When the blast erupted out, Mu Chen's body trembled and retreated a few steps backwards. As for Liu Ming, who had rushed over, tumbled in midair and landed on the ground. His face was extremely dark. Asshole, you've truly become powerful. Liu Ming gnashed his teeth as he spoke. Originally, he never cared about Mu Chen. However, as they fought again today, he realized that Mu Chen was in no way inferior to him. It's just that you're too weak, Mu Chen said with a cold smile. I, the third master, will tear you to pieces today. Liu Ming angrily laughed. He pushed the spiritual energy inside his body to the extreme. Then he rushed over towards Mu Chen like a lightning. The winds coming from his clawing attacks were extremely fierce. Seeing this, Mu Chen immediately used the Shadow Spirit Step and retreated backwards like a ghost. He waved his sleeves and the air fluctuated. A tiny spiritual array emerged out in spiritual energy chains made of light wrapped around Liu Ming's body. With his current ability, it was a simple act to arrange a tiny spiritual array. However, this tiny spiritual array was not much of an obstacle to someone with Liu Ming's strength. The spiritual energy rushed out from his body and directly destroyed all the chains around him. He said in a mocking voice, I had heard that you're a spiritual array master. How come you only know to use these measly things? Then I'll give you something big. Mu Chen's eyes turned cold. A dozen spiritual seals quickly emerged on his palm. Seeing this, Liu Ming's heart jumped. He did not dare to be careless and charged out. Although the spiritual arrays formed by a spiritual array master were extremely powerful, they required a period of time to prepare. As long as they were able to get up close, a spiritual array master could not resist against them. Swish, swish. However, Mu Chen saw through his thoughts. He immediately activated Shadow Spirit Step to the limits and caused many illusionary shadows to appear. It actually made Liu Ming unable to know where his true body was located at. Boy, do you only know how to hide? Liu Ming shouted out in rage. Mu Chen's movements were too elegant. It was evident that Mu Chen had trained in a rather extraordinary movement spiritual art. Although he pushed his spiritual energy to the limits, he still failed to catch Mu Chen. Swish! Just when he shouted, Mu Chen's body suddenly stopped moving. However, Liu Ming did not have the time to rejoice. Instead, the color of his face changed when he noticed the violent fluctuations behind Mu Chen. A massive fiery red spiritual array emerged slowly and emitted out a violent spiritual energy. Damn it, how could he arrange a spiritual array this quickly? Liu Ming's face twitched. It wasn't that he hadn't fought against a spiritual array master before. However, it was the first time that he saw a spiritual array master who could arrange a powerful spiritual array at such a high speed. Devouring Tiger Blaze spiritual array. Mu Chen did not allow Liu Ming to remain shocked for a long period of time. He stared coldly at the latter, and the hand seals immediately changed. A tiger's roar erupted out from within the fiery red spiritual array, and then a flame tiger containing a violent and burning spiritual energy directly rushed towards Liu Ming. Ghastly netherworld hands. Feeling the violent pressure coming from the flame tiger, Liu Ming did not hesitate and hurriedly pushed his spiritual energy to the extreme. With a loud shout, his hands smacked out, and the spiritual energy formed into a light which gathered around his palm. Afterwards, the light-covered palm collided fiercely against the flame tiger. Bang! The violent spiritual energy erupted out and shattered the gravel on the ground into powder. Swish! But just when Liu Ming used all his strength to resist against the violent flame tiger, a vague shadow suddenly rushed in from the side. Two of its fingers were straightened out. The fingertips were flashing a dazzling golden light as it mercilessly headed straight towards his throat. This offensive was quite clinical. As he was caught off guard, Liu Ming could only smack it away with the back of his hand. The golden lights were sharp like a spear. As it touched Liu Ming's palm, its sharpness erupted out. Then it actually stabbed right through the center of Liu Ming's palm and caused blood to sputter out. Ah! Liu Ming issued out a scream immediately. His body flew back awkwardly, and he held onto his bloody palm with an astounded expression. Mu Chen looked coldly at Liu Ming. However, he did not give him time to recover and rushed over once again. Stop him! Seeing this, Liu Ming quickly shouted out. The Liu territory's men nearby immediately charged towards Mu Chen when they heard the cry. However, they were quickly stopped by the Mu territory's men. The current situation was quite chaotic. Mu Chen glanced at Liu Ming, who was retreating quickly. However, he did not show any signs of chasing after him. Instead, he retreated back to the center of the Mu territories and Nine Dragon City's men. He frowned as he stared at the two battles in midair. Lei Shan and Yang Gui were both spirit stage initial phase powerhouses. It would be hard to determine the victory without a period of time. However, Liu Zong was at the spirit stage middle phase. He was stronger than Zhou Ye. Therefore, Zhou Ye would be the first one to topple down if they continued to draw out the battle. Once Zhou Ye was defeated, it would immediately lead to a chain reaction. Moreover, once it affected Lei Shan, the spirit stage powerhouses on their side would be defeated. It would be useless no matter how much of an advantage they obtained down here. Therefore, they must think of a way to defeat the other spirit stage powerhouses. Mu Chen's eyes flashed. He immediately tilted his head and looked at Lei Yin and the others beside him. Can you protect me for a while? What are you planning to do? Lei Yin's beautiful face was quite unnatural. She had just seen how Mu Chen had dealt with Liu Ming using a spiritual array. This speed of arranging a spiritual array was not something she could compare with. I want to help your father kill Yang Gui, Mu Chen said in a deep voice. Lei Yin was surprised. She stared strangely at Mu Chen and said, they are both spirit stage powerhouses. If you want to pose a threat to them, you must use a rank 2 spiritual array. Aren't you currently only a rank 1 spiritual array? I'll try it out. Mu Chen took a deep breath. His hand gripped tightly and a jaded essence fruit emerged within his hands. This was the final one remaining. With his current spiritual energy, he would need a bit of external support in order to condense 20 spiritual seals. He did not hesitate and shoved the jaded essence fruit into his mouth. Then, under Lei Yin's eyes of amazement, he closed his eyes tightly. Shortly after, she was stunned as she noticed spiritual seals emerging out from Mu Chen's fingertips. The amount was a total of 20 spiritual seals. 20 spiritual seals. Lei Yin was slightly shocked as she watched the spiritual seals that were being condensed out of Mu Chen's fingertips. A hint of complexity filled her eyes. This amount of spiritual seals almost reached the pinnacle of a rank 1 spiritual array master. She had always believed that she had a high talent in spiritual array cultivation. However, it seemed that she was quite far behind in talent when compared to Mu Chen. Mu Chen did not care about Lei Yin's feelings. At this moment, he was fully preoccupied on condensing the spiritual seals. After he carefully condensed out 20 spiritual seals, he flicked his fingers and the 20 spiritual seals integrated into the air in front of him. Chi-Chi. Numerous complex spiritual energy light beams erupted out when the spiritual seals were integrated into the air. They formed an extremely complicated diagram array. Moreover, Mu Chen had shut off all interference from the outside world and had entered the heart array state once again. He controlled the spiritual energy light beams and attempted to complete the complex connections. At this moment, he was attempting to arrange the strongest diagram array that he had obtained from Wenling. It was the 9 Heavenly Lightning Spiritual Array, whose power could rival quite a few rank 2 spiritual arrays. At present, he would have to strain himself in order to arrange this sort of spiritual array, even with the help of the heart array state. However, the situation right now will not permit him to think about that. Whether or not the spiritual array would fail, he had to attempt it. Mu Chen concentrated, and his slender hands constantly changed forms. His 10 fingers shuttled back and forth like a butterfly. They drew countless trajectories as cold sweat emerged on his forehead. Seeing Mu Chen's appearance like this, Lei Yin's eyes became serious. It seemed that Mu Chen was not absolutely certain on whether he could arrange this spiritual array. Right now, he must not be disturbed. Otherwise, he would suffer a severe injury if the spiritual array backfires. At the mountain peak, the troops from both sides rushed against each other. Numerous spiritual energies erupted out, and sounds of fighting rang out. As time passed, the cold sweat on Mu Chen's forehead began to increase. His handsome face was extremely serious right now. However, it made Lei Yin let out a sigh of relief. The strange fluctuation in the air in front of Mu Chen did not show any signs of disorder. It seemed that everything was under Mu Chen's control. Buzz! As Lei Yin relaxed, the air in front of Mu Chen suddenly let out a violent buzzing sound. At that location, the air seemed to fluctuate like boiling water. Then, dazzling silver lights began to emerge from the fluctuations. These silver lights slowly began to gather and vaguely formed into a light array that was dozens of meters tall. From the light array, deep sounds of rumbling were emitted out while lightning flashed. This array that appeared suddenly shocked everyone at the mountain peak. They quickly turned their gaze over and stared in astonishment at this complex silver spiritual array. What a powerful spiritual energy! The men from both sides stared at the dazzling lightning spiritual array. Then they felt the surging spiritual energy from within it, and their faces immediately changed. This level of spiritual energy was almost comparable to a spirit stage powerhouse. Stop him! He's arranging a spiritual array! When Liu Ming, who was wounded by Mu Chen earlier, noticed this scene, his eyes instantly narrowed and he quickly shouted. From the surging spiritual energy fluctuations, it was evident that Mu Chen was arranging an extremely powerful spiritual array. If he successfully arranges this array, even a spirit stage powerhouse would suffer from this great threat. Hearing Liu Ming's shout, the elite troops from the Lu territory immediately rushed forward towards Mu Chen. However, there were many men from the Mu territory and Nine Dragon City nearby protecting him. They were unable to charge forward quickly. Seeing this, Liu Ming grunted and lunged forward. He pushed his spiritual energy to the limits and tore a crack through the defensive lines. Currently, all the experts were mutually restraining each other. Among the ones protecting Mu Chen, all weren't powerful experts, so it wasn't easy for them to stop Liu Ming. Stop right there! As she noticed Liu Ming charging over, Lei Yin immediately frowned. Spiritual seals emerged from her fingers and were fired out swiftly. The air in front of her fluctuated and formed into an icy blue spiritual array that exuded a freezing chill. Frozen serpent spiritual array. Hiss! A chill expanded out from within the icy blue spiritual array. Then several enormous ice serpents surged out and tangled around Liu Ming. It's another spiritual array master? Seeing this scene, Liu Ming's face changed. However, he quickly noticed that the spiritual array formed by the girl in front of him wasn't as powerful as Mu Chen's. When he became aware of the situation, a cold light flashed through Liu Ming's eyes. He clenched his fists tightly, and dense spiritual energy exploded out. His fists whistled through the air and crushed the ice serpents that tangled him into pieces. Lei Yin's face turned slightly white. However, she gritted her teeth and urged the spiritual energy within her body in order to arrange another spiritual array. She used all his strength to prevent Liu Ming from approaching closer. Bang, bang, bang! Due her attempts to stop him, Liu Ming was slowed. However, he still managed to rush over and appeared in a location near Lei Yin in a couple of minutes. Damn brat, go to hell! Liu Ming's eyes were dark. His clawing attacks were like lightning and brought out fierce winds. He attempted to grab onto Lei Yin's snowy white neck mercilessly, as if he wanted to destroy a beautiful thing through ruthless means. Seeing the grim Liu Ming rush over, Lei Yin's face became a lot paler. However, she stubbornly fought back her fear and refused to retreat. She immediately circulated the spiritual energy within her body in order to struggle recklessly against Liu Ming. Die! Liu Ming immediately laughed wickedly when he noticed that Lei Yin wanted to fight against him head-on. If she were to arrange spiritual arrays from a distance, it might cause him some trouble. However, in a close-up battle, he could take her life within 3 moves. But just when Liu Ming was about to deliver the killing blow, a brilliant silver light erupted out from behind Lei Yin. Violent spiritual energy fluctuations mixed with rumbling sounds were formed into lightning and struck out against Liu Ming, who was approaching. This incoming lightning instantly changed Liu Ming's expression. He quickly urged the spiritual energy within his body to form a spiritual energy light barrier on the surface of his body. Boom! The lightning did not hesitate as it severely bombarded his body. As the violent lightning erupted out, Liu Ming's body instantly flew backwards hundreds of meters, sliding on the ground before it buried itself in a boulder. Fresh blood sprayed out from Liu Ming's mouth. His entire body was charred as he lifted his head in surprise. He noticed Mu Chen, who was behind Lei Yin, slowly opening his tightly shut eyes. A lightning spiritual array slowly circulated above his head. It carried an extremely violent spiritual energy and would flash from time to time. Damn it, how could this spiritual array be this powerful? Horror filled Liu Ming's heart. He was bombarded by the lightning to the extent that he became seriously injured. The power was comparable to a spirit stage powerhouse's attack. The men nearby were all scared because of this. Fear immediately filled their faces. Even Liu Ming, who was at the peak of a spiritual rotation stage late phase, could not block a single attack from the spiritual array. How could they dare to rush forward? Mu Chen stared coldly at Liu Ming, who was severely injured. However, he ignored him and turned his gaze towards Lei Yin and asked, "Are you okay?" Lei Yin shook her head and said, "Thank you." If Mu Chen had not helped during the critical moment earlier, she probably would have been killed by Liu Ming. "It's fine. I still have to thank you for protecting me." Mu Chen smiled gently. Then his cold eyes looked towards the battle between Lei Shan and Yang Gui. His hand seals changed and the massive lightning spiritual array slowly circulated as numerous lightning flashed. In the sky, Yang Gui was currently fighting fiercely against Lei Shan when he felt a chill. He hurriedly turned his gaze away and his eyes instantly narrowed. Then he revealed a surprised expression. Even he felt a hint of danger coming from this lightning spiritual array. What a powerful spiritual array. Lei Shan also noticed the spiritual array and immediately exclaimed, "Nine heavenly lightning spiritual array!" Mu Chen stared coldly at Yang Gui and shouted out while his hand seals changed. Boom! Following Mu Chen's cry, the lightning spiritual array had completely activated. Rumbling thunder sounds echoed throughout the sky. Then the array trembled for a moment and a massive lightning rushed out like a lightning dragon. It tore through the sky at lightning speed and fiercely bombarded against Yang Gui. Damn it! Seeing the lightning quickly becoming larger within his eyes, Yang Gui's face changed instantly. The violent spiritual energy within the lightning made his heart jump. Boom! A powerful spiritual energy immediately rushed out from Yang Gui's body. His fingers were spread apart, and then he fired off from his palm. Grand Wraith, palm print! Billowing spiritual energy gushed out and formed a gigantic spiritual energy palm print. It carried a powerful energy as it collided fiercely against the lightning. Bang! An immensely violent spiritual energy shockwave erupted out in the sky. As a dazzling brilliance emerged, many people closed their eyes. Yang Gui's body also trembled at that moment. A muffled humph sound emitted out from his throat. Then his body quickly staggered a dozen steps backwards as a trace of blood emerged from his mouth. The spiritual energy within his body had been shocked, and it was apparent that he had suffered a severe injury from that collision. Yang Gui, die! Just when Yang Gui retreated back quickly due to his injuries, a shout filled with killing intent rang out from behind him. He quickly turned around and noticed Lei Shan rushing over. The latter's body was completely wrapped in golden light. Behind him, the golden armadillo seemed to have fused together with him. With a cry, an indescribable sharpness emerged from it and penetrated through his chest. Yang Gui's body immediately stiffened as he struggled to lower his head. He noticed that a 2-foot bloody hole appeared on his chest as fresh blood poured out from it. At this instant, the entire mountain peak was silent. The troops from Mangyan Mountain stared at this scene in horror. Their eyes showed a feeling of intense fear. Upon seeing this, Mu Chen let out a sigh of relief. He sat down on his butt. Yang Gui was dead. Thus, Mangyan Mountain and Liu territory would definitely lose today's battle. That wraps up the content for today's episode. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel to get notifications for the next episode. For now, goodbye, and see you next time.